Welcome to Tax, Tip, and Markup. Each of these are percentage rates that must be added on. We're going to be using our tape diagram 100%, and we're going to be adding on each of these percentage rates. Tax is what's added on when you go to the store. Let's say tax runs about 8%. If we convert that to a decimal, that means we pay about 8 cents for every dollar we spend. A typical tip runs about 15%. Please write this in your notes. If we convert that to a decimal, that means for a server, we leave about 15 cents for every dollar we spend. And finally, markup. Markup is something that occurs in a retail setting. When a store owner gets an item in a store, they pay wholesale. But in order to make a profit, they might mark up the item 60% before they put it on the shelf. Which means, as we convert to a decimal, that means that for every wholesale dollar the store owner has spent on the item, they're going to add a 60-cent profit to that item. So, we're going to be calculating these three amounts. Let's start with a simple tax problem. You're going to record these notes in your notebook. Draw a simple tape diagram, and let's say we're going to do a little shopping. We're going to pick up a $15 item. Please write that total at the bottom of your bar. That means that's 100% of what we owe the store, or the cost of the item. Take a moment and write that down. Now, before we walk out of the store, we go up to the register and we pay. When we pay, not only do we have to pay for the item, but we also have to include the sales tax, which is added on. Take your tape diagram and add on another section and label this section tax. Okay, we're going to add on an 8% tax. Align that 8% with the 100%. Now, we don't know how much that is in dollars, but we know we have to calculate it using an 8% rate. We know that the cost with the tax added on will add up to our final cost. And if we look at our percentages, we know that 100% plus 8% means our final cost can be found at a rate of 108%. We're curious, how much is that tax? Once we get the tax, we can add it to the $15. So, let's use our formula. R times T equals P. Make sure you've recorded all this information. But before we begin to use the formula and search for that tax, please convert all the percentages to their decimal equivalents. Move the decimal 2 places as we divide by 100. Let's put a significant 0 there. And convert all of these percentages to decimal form. Basically, what this means is for every dollar you spend, you're going to add 8 cents for the tax. paying at a final rate of $1.08. But let's just focus on the tax. We know we're being taxed at a rate of 0.08, and we're going to pay that on the $15 total. Take a moment, grab your calculator, and punch in 0.08 times 15. You should have gotten $1.20. That is your tax. Now it's up to you to take $15 and add the tax to it. What's your final cost before you walk out of the store? Well, you need to pay $16.20. All three of these, whether it's tax, tip, or markup, are added on to 100%, our core tape diagram. You're going to be using this technique in order to calculate each of these over the next few lessons. Now, go to page 8 and complete the problems you've been given. Make sure you draw a tape diagram and use your formula showing your steps to calculate the tax. And finally, make sure you add on your tax so you can come up with the final cost. And in this case, our final cost was $16.20.